here, we're gonna go live. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Ortega Lomayer. I'm your host and producer of Elecciones 2018. Tonight we will talk with Evan Glass, candidate for County Council at Large in Montgomery County, and our guest Santiago Tavara, editor at Digital Metro Latino USA and writer at El Tiempo Latino newspaper. Evan, welcome. There are 38 candidates for County Council at Large in Montgomery County. Why do you think you should win one of these 4 seats?
Well, thank you for having me here this evening. And that is a great question. There are 38 of us who are running for Montgomery County Council. And the reason I am running and the reason I want to be your next council member is because there are a lot of challenges that we are facing here in Montgomery County. First and foremost, we need to make sure that every child receives the education he or she deserves. We have more than 160,000 students here in Montgomery County, and not every classroom is equipped, not every building has the proper infrastructure, and not every teacher has the same resources. And so we need to make sure our schools and our students receive the resources in order to maintain our high level of education. Secondly, we need to fix our transportation infrastructure here. Metro is falling apart, our roads are getting clogged, and we need to do something about it. And my number one priority is fixing Metro, because if Metro fails, everything else will get worse. And then the third aspect that we need to deal with is how we pay for those first 2 items, how we pay for schools and transportation. And for me, that means we bring better paying jobs, more better paying jobs to Montgomery County so that people can continue living here, making a decent living, and we tax those resources and reinvest in our community. And with those 3 items that I want to improve, the reason I am well equipped to handle that is because I've been involved in Montgomery County life for more than 15 years. I've been president of 2 civic associations. I've served on boards and commissions, and I now run a nonprofit here in Montgomery County working with our students. And so I understand how complex our budget is, how diverse our community is, and I have a track record of getting things done.
Santiago, do you have any questions now?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Evan, nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Tell me, before talking about politics, tell me about yourself. What do you do? What are your hobbies?
Sure. So I am originally from New York. I grew up on Long Island, and my parents got divorced when I was young, and I grew up in a home with a single mother, and my mom worked 2 jobs. And as I was growing up, I watched a lot of television because my mother was working 2 jobs, and I loved news. I loved cable news and CNN. And so I came down to Washington, D.C. and studied journalism. And then I became very lucky and found a job at CNN. And I worked for 12 years as a producer at CNN, covering Congress and politics and presidential campaigns. And now I am the executive director of an organization called Gandhi Brigade Youth Media, and we operate free after-school programs throughout Montgomery County in libraries and middle schools and high schools, teaching those students how to become community leaders, getting them to care about issues in their schools, down the road, in their homes, and they produce award-winning documentaries and public service announcements on issues on immigration reform, gun control, and just education. And so I love what I do, and I hope to continue doing good things if I'm fortunate enough to get to Montgomery County Council.
You lost already before, right? Now, why are you running again?
So yes, you did your homework. I ran for county council in 2014, and it was the first time I ever got involved in politics. I had never knocked on a door for a candidate. I had never made a phone call for a candidate, but I was encouraged to run for the Montgomery County Council because of my civic work, because of things I've been doing for my neighbors and being in my community. And we ended up losing by 1%. And it was a very eye-opening experience. And immediately after that, people told me, you have to run again in 4 years. And I said, I can't think about that. I need to take time off. I need to walk my dogs. I need to go on vacation. I need to spend time with my husband. I need to relax. And last year, in 2017, people said there are 3 open seats on the Montgomery County Council. Term limits and people running for other offices have created some opportunities, and you should take a look at it. And my husband and I had a conversation, and we decided that I'll give it another go. And so here we are.
And now you are doing fundraising. What do you think about the influence of money in politics? Is good or bad?
So money in politics, unfortunately, you need money in order to run a good campaign, because you have to pay for a website, you have to hire staff, you have to pay for literature that gets mailed or sent to you. And what I'm really excited about is this year Montgomery County is for the first time doing public financing. Are you familiar with the public financing?
They're giving you some money, right?
Yes,
Like,
and so public financing means that I'm rejecting all corporate money, all business money, all political action committee money. No special interests are contributing to my campaign. I am only accepting money from living, breathing people. And if you live in Montgomery County and you contribute to my campaign, then your donation gets quadrupled or tripled or doubled based on the algorithm. And so what it means is I am constantly meeting people, and people are inviting me into their homes, and we're having conversations with neighbors and friends and churchgoers and talking about the community. And at the end of the conversation, people say, I like your vision and I want to support you, and here's $50. And that is so meaningful and so much more important than going into an office or a back room and someone writing a check with a bunch of zeros at the end of it. It's really special. And what's most special for me are the people who have given $5 and $10 contributions, who've never participated in the political process before, but now because their donation gets doubled and tripled and quadrupled, they're participating, and it's really exciting.
Which politician inspired you to do this? Bernie Sanders, Obama?
Well, so when this was first discussed in Montgomery County, it was in 2014, and former Montgomery County Council member Phil Andrews wrote the legislation that allowed this to happen. And at the time, I learned about it, and I said, this is a really good piece of legislation. It'll really change the way that we operate here in Montgomery County, because it'll restore the power to the residents, to the people of Montgomery County. And so I testified in support of it. And I'm actually the only candidate for the Montgomery County Council who testified in support of this legislation, because I knew how important it would be. And about 2 weeks ago, I actually went to Annapolis and testified for a piece of legislation that would bring this type of democracy to Annapolis. And again, I was the only council candidate to testify in support of that. So, I believe in good government, and I believe in restoring the power to the Montgomery County residents, and public financing for me is one of the best ways to do that.
Do other counties in the country do that?
There are a number of municipalities that do that. Probably the largest one is the New York City Council. They do public financing as well. And right now, Howard County has approved it for its next election. Washington, D.C. is debating it, I believe, for the election in 5 years' time. And so it's gaining a lot of traction. And I think as we look for ways to improve government and make it work better and make it work for the people, public financing is a fantastic way to do it.
There are two big issues that are affecting the community, not only here but in the United States: gun control and immigration.
Yes.
Do you agree with arming teachers, giving weapons to teachers to protect? Or what's your...
Heck no! Schools are for learning, not target practice. No, we are never going to allow teachers in Montgomery County to have a gun. Forget about it. You might have seen recently that there was a student in Clarksburg who brought a gun to school about 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago. And it's actually the school resource officer who stopped him, who was tipped off by his fellow classmates and stopped the young man from committing any harm. And I have been a very strong supporter of our school resource officers. I was a founding board member of an organization called Safe Silver Spring, which is all about community policing, making sure that our police officers are in the community, know the people in the community, and protect the community. And one of the things that we've advocated for as part of that organization is more school resource officers. And I'm very relieved that a school resource officer stopped a potential bad situation up in Clarksburg. And immigration.
People are living in fear now. There are policies against immigrants. Many people living here for 20 years, 30 years, from El Salvador or dreamers. What do you plan to do with it? What kind of policies?
One of the reasons I live in Montgomery County is because we are a beautifully loving, diverse community. And we love all of our neighbors and want all of our neighbors to stay here in our community. And so I want to protect our dreamers. I want to protect older residents who might not have the proper documentation and make sure that they continue living here and being productive members of our community. And the organization that I lead, Gandhi Brigade Youth Media, we work mostly with youth who are immigrant, first generation, and even undocumented themselves. And I am very proud to provide them with educational opportunities after school so that they can become productive, good members of our community moving forward.
Some politicians use the topic of gangs, the Mara Salvatrucha, to attack immigrants. What's your opinion on that?
Of guns?
Yeah, gangs.
Oh, gangs. There is a gang problem here in Montgomery County, as there is in a lot of other suburban communities throughout the country. And I've spoken with our police officers, and they are doing a really good job of trying to contain it. And one of the things that Montgomery County, I think, has done a really good job of is recognizing or working toward preventing youth from joining gangs. And one of the ways that Montgomery County is doing that is providing more after-school opportunities, making sure that middle school and high school kids don't feel the pressure, that letting them know that they can join organizations or stay at school after school hours and have mentors or activities where they will know that people care for them and hopefully won't fall into the gang situation. So we need to not only make sure that our communities are safe, which I know our police are doing, but we need to provide additional services for our youth to make sure that they don't join gangs in the first place. And I think we're doing a good job of that.
And those services need funding. But do you promise to increase, raise property taxes to fund those programs? Are you for or against increasing taxes, property taxes?
Well, one of the ways I think we need to fund these programs is even take a more a broader view of how we deal with the gang preventions. What I think we need to do a better job of here in Montgomery County is work with our neighbors in Fairfax and Prince George's and Washington, D.C., and recognize that this is not just a problem in Montgomery County, but it's a regional problem. And we need to make sure that our police officers and our Department of Health and Human Services and other agencies and leaders really work together, even our rec department, that they work with other agencies and other departments throughout the region. How we pay for all of that, that is one of the toughest things that the next county executive and the next county council are going to have to deal with. We recently raised property taxes by about 9%.
You agree with that, right?
Pardon me?
Do you agree with that?
It was what we had to do.
Yeah.
And there were no other options.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think we need to do is, as we're looking forward and recognizing that we increased property taxes by 9%, and then a year or two later we're faced with a $120 million deficit. And so we need to really rethink the way we raise revenue here in the county, which is why when I talked about the 3 issues that are really important to me, the third one was economic development and bringing more jobs to Montgomery County. Because there's only a few ways that we can raise revenue to pay for more gang prevention services, or pay for more schools, or pay for any of the services that we want. And it's either increasing taxes, which I don't think there's an appetite for right now. There's reducing services, but we all live here because we like the services, and if anything, we want to provide more services. That's what we're talking about. So then the only other option is increasing the tax base. And how do we do that? Well, I think there are a lot of really exciting opportunities here in Montgomery County. We have the biopharmaceutical medical device industry, and especially in East County, we have the Food and Drug Administration and its huge headquarters. And just north of that, we have a brand new hospital that's being built, Adventist Hospital. And what the county is working on doing is making sure that it's filled, that space in between is filled with life sciences who want to be close to the Food and Drug Administration, but then also want to be close to a brand new, wonderful healthcare system. And I think as we try to create more of that, we not only bring good paying jobs here, we increase our tax base, and we provide more jobs for people in the county. Because in this race for county council at large, I actually had to get a second car in order to run. We had one car for about 10 years, but the county is so large, I can't get here this evening, let alone Gaithersburg, Olney, Clarksburg, even Rockville, parts of it, by taking public transportation alone. So we had to get a second car. But the reason I say that is when I'm on public transportation, when I'm on the buses, I see how far people are traveling to get to the Bethesda Metro or the Silver Spring Metro or the Wheaton Metro. And when they're sitting in the buses for so long, if we brought more jobs to Montgomery County, they'd have shorter commutes. We'd be able to bring more money into the county. And as we talk about ways to close the achievement gap and the opportunity gap and make sure that all of our children receive the education that they deserve and increase graduation rates among our African American and Latino communities specifically, one way that we do that is by having more parental engagement. It's not the only way, but science has shown, social science has shown, when parents are more involved. And one way parents can be more involved is by not spending an hour each way to get to work. They can be home a little bit more. And so we need to bring more jobs here so parents have more opportunities to be with their kids.
On that note about transportation, is traffic an issue that may be one of the number ones that people complain in Montgomery County? Because now you have 2 cars.
I'm spending a lot of time on all the roads, yes, and so I'm seeing firsthand how much we need to improve our transportation. Yes, so transportation can get a little complicated because we just don't have the money for it. And Governor Hogan hasn't committed to even fixing Metro. And I will say that fixing Metro is my top priority within transportation, because if we don't fix Metro, that means everyone's getting into their car and they're going to clog 270 and 355 and Connecticut Avenue and Georgia Avenue and Colesville. All of these different roads will just be full of people who once took the Metro. So we have to fix the Metro. After that, we need to fix our roads as well. And so that is partly a state issue, that we need the state to provide some more revenue. And I'm hoping that when we have a Democratic governor after November, the new governor, will be supportive of Montgomery County and will provide us with the revenue and the resources to improve our roads.
What about the purple line? Do you think that's going to have a positive impact in the region, in transportation?
So the purple line is being built right now, and we can go to Long Branch and see that there are holes in the ground and they're working on it. What I pledge to do if I'm on the county council is make sure that it's being done right, that neighborhoods are affected as least as possible, and that the project doesn't run over budget and doesn't get indefinitely delayed, because the project is going to be a few $1 billion. And if there are cost overruns and problems, that's millions or billions of dollars that we can't spend on education, that we can't spend on after-school programs. And so I want to make sure, as a former journalist, I want to use the power of oversight to make sure that they're doing the purple line properly.
And finally, to end this interview, why are you better than the rest of the candidates? Either 37, I think, or 38. Right?
38, who's counting, right?
Yeah.
So we are blessed here in Montgomery County. We have so many incredible candidates. And I look forward to working with any of the Democrats who are elected. My style of leadership over 15 years here in Montgomery County is bringing people together to tackle the tough issues, whether it's supporting affordable housing in our downtown areas, which I've done, advocating for more and better transportation, or expanding after-school programs through unique partnerships. These are all things I've done in a collaborative way. And so I look forward to working with any of the Democrats who get elected to the county council, tackling these big issues and doing it together.
If people want to hear more about you or learn more about you, what is your website address?
My website address is evanglass.com, EVANGLASS. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Great. Thank you to both of you and all our friends in Facebook for joining us tonight. We'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have more questions.
How long was that?
What's like, how long?
20 minutes?
30, I think.
Oh, we're still recording.